Hi everyone, my name is Meghan Simmons and I'm from South Carolina. My undergraduate degree was in graphic design and my master's will be in digital marketing and advertising. So when I saw chapter 10, I was super excited to share it with you guys. It'll be on digital signage. So the next slide is a table of contents, and I'll start with an introduction to digital signage and how advancements in technology have made it possible, the major types of signage, background, recent developments, and the current status of digital technology, and then I'll end with some factors to keep a lookout for. The following slide goes over a few pretty incredible statistics. With continuously advancing, fast-paced world we live in today, we often forget to stop and look around us at all the advertising we're exposed to on a daily basis. New York Times, Huffington Post, and several articles from different marketing firms state that on average we see between 2,000 and 5,000 advertisements, both print and digital, each day. Taking into account the ongoing advancements in social media and digital signage technologies and the retiring of many print methods, this number will continue to rise. I have listed only a few of the types of digital signage applications that we see each and every day. One professor I had should have trademarked the phrase, "white space is your friend." But in today's culture, almost everywhere we turn, we see some form of digital advertising as advertisers want to reach consumers anywhere at any time. One article by AV Network states that digital signage and professional flat panel displays are expected to reach 7.7 million units by 2020. Excuse me. Gretchen Hoffman, retired executive vice president of marketing sales at Universal Orlando Resort, stated that marketers are dealing with an absolute sensory overload with a very overly saturated landscape, making it more difficult to make their products stand out. While all marketing can have pros and cons, depending on the consumer, we have to wonder how much advertising, especially digital, is affecting consumer behavior. On the next slide, we have the first formal definition of digital signage from the textbook from the Digital Screen Media Association, which states the use of electronic displays or screens such as LCD, LED, plasma, or projection to deliver entertainment information and or advertisement in public or private spaces outside of the home. Also note that digital signage is often referred to as DOOH, or digital outside of the home. Later, the Digital Signage Federation expanded the definition to include a network of digital displays that is centrally managed and addressable for targeted information, entertainment, merchandising, and advertising. Regardless of which definition is used, the three major components of digital signage include the displays, the screen, the content for the display, and the content management system, all of which will be discussed more in depth in the next slide. As the textbook states, digital signage takes so many different forms because of all the technology today. The most common screens you'll see are LCD or liquid crystal display and LED light-emitting diode LCD screens. Some less common but still used are plasma, OLED, and projection. The screens can come in a variety of ways, including flat, curved, and even interactive. While digital signage and print signage both have the capability to display text and images, digital signage provides advertisers the advantage of displaying video, animation, RSS feeds, and social networking. Table 10.1 on page 118 in the textbook provides a more comprehensive chart of the advantages and disadvantages of print versus digital signage. However, one of the main advantages to note is how quickly and easily digital content can be changed. For example, airports with digital signage can quickly change flight numbers and times to better keep flyers informed, and they can do this almost instantly. I actually took my first flight to Chicago last year. The flight there was fine, and I say fine because I wasn't a huge fan of flying, but our flight home was not so much. It was actually delayed 3 times, and so without the digital signage, I would have been a total mess trying to figure out the Chicago airport. Digital signage content also has the unique advantage of providing consumers with a more interactive usage. On the next slide, we can see just how much interactive signage is changing our everyday lives. Instead of viewing static images, digital signage gives us the ability to become interactive. A great example is something that if you have not used, you've probably seen in restaurants such as Moe's or Firehouse Subs. These are the interactive Coca-Cola drink machines that allow you to touch a screen to choose your drink. However, in more recent years, Coca-Cola has taken their digital signage to a new level. In 2015, Coke used Times Square as a deployment for a digital billboard that was twice the size of a double-decker bus and used the hashtag #CokeMyName. People could tweet their first name along with the hashtag, and it would generate a personalized story about the name on a digital screen, which led to their extremely successful Share a Coke campaign. Digital signage not only has the capability to interact with users in the Coke example, but it also has the capability to recognize viewers' ages, sex, face, and fingerprints. Of course, with this huge capability, privacy has become a huge concern that we will discuss later on. The advantages of interactive digital signage is the ability for advertisers to deliver more targeted messages to different consumers at different times. If you pass any digital billboard while you are driving, take a moment to acknowledge what is on them. There may be coffee ads in the morning and restaurant ads at lunchtime or in the evening. The capability to divide up these messages during the day to reach specific audiences is known as day parting. I provided a few types of examples of the different ways on the following slide. Advertisers have several different ways that they can measure how effective digital signage is. This includes dwelling time, age, sex, and interactive usage. Recently at work, we were addressing how a majority of our older generation of sales guys likes to have everything printed, even if it's easier for them to just pull it offline because we update it consistently. With so many advances in digital technology, you may wonder why some people still choose to use traditional instead of digital signage. Consider the past technologies you've learned about so far: radio, television, internet, phones, etc. Almost all of these come with a higher cost than the item we currently have. To keep up with the fast-paced lives of people, technology has to get faster and better and do more for us, but this often doesn't come without a price increase. Even though digital signage comes in many different sizes, shapes, interactivity with multiple messages, and easily changeable content, the biggest disadvantage is the overall upfront cost. As the text states, while ROI or return on investment is generally higher for digital signage, the upfront cost deters many businesses on making the change to digital signage. There are two basic types of digital signage systems that play a factor in the cost. As listed on slide 8, these include a premise-based and a software as a service or SaaS-based. Premise-based includes an entire digital signage system that is completely in-house, while SaaS involves the internet to help customers manage and deliver their content through a subscription service. Both have advantages and disadvantages, so businesses often will use a mix of both. The next slide is just a quick review of the technology used. There has to be a screen, some type of media player that provides a connection to the screen, and the content to go on the screen. There are also three major categories that almost all digital signage will fall into. These include point of sale, think about like an elevator or doctor's office, point of wait, a restaurant or a mall, and point of transit, airport or billboard. There's also a figure on page 119 that you can reference as well. So as a nerdy graphic designer, one of my favorite things to do is look at logos and how much or sometimes how little they have evolved over time. Well, almost anything with art or graphics. So seeing how far we have come from traditional to digital signage is pretty awesome, but the next few slides will go over how it all began in a condensed format. The first gas-illuminated sign was hung over the P.T. Barnum Museum in 1840. Electricity and the light bulb soon changed the way signs could be illuminated, and the first neon sign was surfaced in 1929 at Packard Automotive. So I work for a lighting company that sells to various markets, but they sell also to sports facilities. So for any of you sports fans, according to the text, the first electronic scoreboard used 50,000 lights in 1956 in the Astrodome Houston facility. It is indicated that the term digital signage originated in 1992 when a security guard in the UK described digital messaging as digital signage. In looking at this, Digital Signage Today claimed that LG Electronics coined the term techerating in 2008, which is used to describe a fusion of technology and interior design. I guess I'll have to listen more closely on HGTV now. In the early 1800s, billboards debuted in the United States, and in the early 1900s, the standard sizes and structures we see today were made. The development of the VCR played an important role in the advancement of digital signage and the later development of flat screens and LCD displays in the 1970s continued to impact the television and advertising industries. ATM machines were the first involvement with digital interactivity, and the PDA, or Personal Digital Assistant devices, widely incorporated touchscreen technology. The first digital billboard was introduced in 2005, but did not make the positive impact advertisers and marketers were hoping for. I cannot even begin to count how many billboards I see on my 40-minute commute each day to work. Some traditional, some are digital. When the first digital billboard went up, so did a number of regulations. Many people were concerned with driver safety and the increasing placement of billboards. The federal legislation began with the Bonus Act in 1958 and the Highway Beautifications Act in 1965. But many states also implemented their own regulations regarding outside advertising. Many people thought that the multiple messages and bright lights from the digital signage would become a dangerous distraction for drivers, so the Federal Transportation Agency set up rules in place prohibiting flashing, intermittent, or moving lights, and that the images had to stay on the billboards for at least 4 seconds. However, while distraction was a huge concern, an even bigger one was privacy. Now, I don't know about you, but more and more today I hear about hacking into Facebook, security systems, emails, baby monitors. So without a doubt, all the digital advertising came along that could record our faces, gestures, touches. Privacy became a huge concern. With this in mind, the Digital Signage Federation adopted its digital signage privacy standards in 2011. While the standards were voluntary, the Federation states that they were developed to help preserve public trust in digital signage and set the stage for a new era of consumer-friendly interactive marketing. It covers a wide array of identifiable and synonymous data. This covers anything from data on minors to your friends list on Facebook. The standards set also recommend that companies who choose to engage in digital signage use complementary standards for mobile marketing, code of conduct, and international marketing. For me, the standards and regulations on print advertising were taught to me both in grad school and undergraduate school. But until reading this chapter, I was not fully aware of the regulations for fair practices and standards digital signage had, and the transparency and privacy policies that companies had to have. The textbook briefly discusses the 3 levels of audience measurement set by the standards. Level 1 is audience counting that records dwelling time but not face recognition. Level 2 is audience targeting, and Level 3 is audience identification or profiling. The standards recommend that the first 2 levels people should be able to opt out of being measured from, and the 3rd level individuals should have the option to opt in. On the next slide, we'll briefly go over recent developments. Along with my passion for art is a passion for the medical field. I grew up with both my parents working in the medical field, so it really amazes me. So touch, gesture control, and facial recognition, as I mentioned earlier, are some of the biggest, most recent ongoing developments in digital signage, but especially in the medical field. According to Digital Signage Today, digital signage helps improve on-site navigation, provide community news, target information for specific waiting areas, and allows patients and staff to better interact through the touch and gesture capabilities. Of course, many of these apply outside of just the medical industry. That's just one area that it's had a huge impact. Augmented reality is also a recent development in digital signage. The image on the far right, if you were in full screen mode, shows an example of it. GPS, construction workers, video games, print advertisements all have used augmented reality. The play button at the top of the slide has a pretty awesome video of Volkswagen using augmented reality in a print ad. So it's kind of cool to see how print and digital can come together. Motion detection technology in video games has had an incredible growth. Think about the Wii or Xbox and how you can use it for interactive fitness or interactive games. While much of this interactive digital technology is used for entertainment and advertising, the industry such as the hospital and therapists use it again for interacting with patients. From the Volkswagen ad, we can see one way that mobile has begun to play an even larger role in digital signage. Mobile has always paved the way for more digital signage through social networking. Think back to the Coke billboard example that I mentioned at the beginning. Mobile has always paved the way for this. Digital signage can also be engaged through texting now. I was at a seminar recently and the instructor asked us to get on our phones and text our vote, and it appeared on the screen and it was anonymous. So it was really cool, and it appeared in the shape of a graph. So we could see different people's answers from around the room, but we could do it from our cell phone. So Josh Cohen, he was a sign creator for Pearl Media, and he stated that when we're able to allow people to interact, whether it's gesture, mobile, social, touch, photo capture, or augmented reality, it allows consumers to have a personal connection to the advertisement, to the client, and to create what we call a lasting impression and increase the opportunity for them to share via mobile and social. As previous chapters and classmates have presented, screen technology has grown tremendously, and this also plays a huge role in digital signage. Advances in 4K and Ultra D screens have helped make digital signage not only larger but even more clear. Again, the upfront cost for digital signage is still relatively high. The production of 4K content is also costly upfront. With the Ultra HD screen, 4K content is needed. Luckily, the majority of 4K media players, as seen in the picture on the slide, are provided. So I have also placed a video that shows just how thin screens have become. Curved and transparent screens are also becoming popular, so I've placed some links in the notes that highlight the ones that were mentioned in the book. The transparent screens are pretty neat, and I know at our company's largest trade show, Light Fair, we saw a lot more of the thin curved screens with the digital signage, and it really made the booth stand out and pop and look really cool. Digital signage has both advantages and disadvantages, but there is no doubt the current status is growth. The textbook estimates that the expected total of revenue for digital signage in 2017 will reach $17 billion. With the increase in technologies such as television and mobile devices, there is no doubt that digital signage will continue to expand and grow. According to our text, studies have continued to show that digital signage beats out radio, magazines, traditional billboards, and television for advertising recall. More and more businesses are seeing an ROI advantage with the use and advancements of digital signage. The final slide introduces a few factors to keep a lookout for. This includes a few that have already been discussed, such as touch and gesture, and the increasing developments in screens and content. With mobile technologies, Wi-Fi or NFC near-field communication, it has created numerous capabilities, but there also is another player in the game. Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE, is creating competition as another short-range wireless communication technology that both Apple and Android have already set support for it and are providing a much greater range than NFC. The last factor to watch for is consolidation within the industry. Digital signage began consolidating in 2014, but is expected to more in the next few years. Digital signage is a growing technology that we see all around that works to reach and identify audiences, and I can't wait to see how it continues to advance. So, to end, my question for you is, as Gretchen Hoffman stated, we live in a very overly saturated landscape. So how do you believe that this has impacted the role advertising with regard to digital signage plays on consumer behavior and purchasing? And also, what digital signage do you see in your everyday life that has had an impact on your purchasing patterns as a consumer? Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed, and I can't wait to read your responses next week. Bye, guys!